you think about the accumulation of actions that you've done throughout this whole time, and do they reflect who you are as a person? And if that's authentic, or if that's, or if that aligns with your true self. It's a weird thing. It's, you think about it a lot, and I think, everyone has a perception of what life is and where you should go and what you should do, and this path, and whether they believe it or not is a whole different other story. I do think about that recently quite a lot. I guess in a way, I'm struggling with that. I'm struggling with looking at things and being like, okay, I've done these things, and whether I like them or not, or whether I agree with them or not, or whether it's part of a mathematical equation of moving forward, does that equate to anything? I guess it's weird to think about things in a very formulaic kind of way. Um, but that's, I guess, what everyone kind of follows in a sense. Um, I think about the phrase "you are your actions." Have my actions been enough? Have I taken the right action? Have I not taken action? Do I regret my actions? Do I regret not acting? Um, hmm. It's a bit of a difficult one. Um, I guess everyone kind of gets silently affected by things that are going on in the world, really horrible things. But um, also how you stand within everything. Who are you in the world? I've been struggling with that quite a lot, to be honest. When your time is not filled with purpose, I think you struggle with that. When you take away a person's purpose, and the person asks themselves, well, who are you? That's quite a scary thought, because we depend on these things, um, as an identity. Your identity is an accumulation of the things that you've done, the actions that you've done. Um, so I guess in a way, it becomes quite difficult to understand yourself. Um, wow, this is a loaded question, eh? um, I guess it's also, how I've been thinking about the past quite a lot. You know, is the past something that you can truly move on from and truly let go of? You know, can you? Is that even possible? can someone actually on this earth say like this this has happened, no matter how big or how small, good or bad, and move on and stay in the present? I kind of hate that phrase, living in the present. To be present, it is a little bit of a catch-22, to be honest with you. Yeah, I guess that's in a very I guess when you're not going through things that you'd like to go through, I guess when you're not living, I guess it's hard to kind of have the same thought process as you are. I guess that's linked to having purpose, isn't it? It links to having something to kind of feel like you are contributing to this world. It gets a little bit oh, this sounding really nihilistic, doesn't it? It's not, I don't mean to be nihilistic. I think it's just trying to understand, just trying to understand living. What constitutes as living? You know, you live your life to the max. Like that's something that's always, like, are you using your time? Are you like it becomes a little bit difficult because nothing you kind of get in the mindset of like nothing you ever do is enough. Being doesn't become enough. You're in that kind of loop of like, right, you're as important as the last thing you've done. And again, like what is life? Life is just an accumulation of the things that you've done, the actions that you took, and it's important that it's action. It's funny, like you've mentioned that, there is thinking about things, there's talking about things, but actions leave a mark, don't they? Actions are kind of like a manifestation of your thought, of your feeling, of your consciousness. So does that mean all the actions I've done, the bad actions that I've done, or the inaction that I've done, is that's inherently part of me? And I think it's also coming to terms with that. Wow, I guess that makes the concept of regret a little bit more quantifiable and understandable. Hmm. Yeah, being alive on this this world is a crazy thing, eh? It's a little bit it's a little bit mad. Yeah. Yeah, I mean that's what I've been thinking about lately. I'm gonna pick up the next question now. Oh, goddamn. I guess this comes at a this leads into quite leads into very easily into the next question, I guess, very nicely into the next question. I don't know, like, I guess lately I haven't been feeling myself. Um, it's funny. I just came back from a 130-mile hike through Scotland. It was very difficult hike, very physically demanding hike, but into some of the most beautiful parts of the Highlands. Um, One of the main reasons I did it, other than being in a beautiful landscape, is that I wanted to do something really difficult because I felt like I kind of lost sight of who I was a little bit. And there's nothing better than getting your ass kicked for you to for you to feel like yourself again, if you know what I mean. Um, it's quite, yeah, you're left quite a lot with your thoughts, and that's a very difficult thing. It's a difficult thing to do, but there is nothing else other than to physically go within a natural landscape, within a landscape, and hike and deal with all sorts of weather conditions and deal with the physical pain and deal with the terrain and deal with all these things. But you're still, when you take away everything and it's just you and the landscape, you go within yourself quite a lot, and you start thinking about everything. You start thinking about a lot of things, I guess. You realize again what I said earlier. When you take away all these, the idea of purpose, and your only purpose in that whole journey is to get from point A to point B without dying, it really puts things into perspective, because you start to reevaluate everything. You reevaluate things that, again, like I talk about regret. I talk about things that have happened in the past that you haven't really fully confronted. You know, mainly a sort of reconciliation with yourself. It's a very slow, grueling journey physically and mentally. I can deal with the physical. I can, I know I prove to myself that my body can take it. My body can do things that I never, thought I could do. But it's always the mind. The mind really, the mind really struggles. The mind can't take that 130 miles. Which is kind of crazy if you think about it. The mind is just being like you're the mind is not physically carrying 13 to 14 kilos on your back. The mind's not doing that. Your body is. And that's like, and that's when everything is stripped away, that I feel like that I came close to understanding who I was, you know, and where my mind actually is. And I guess in a funny way, that is being present, isn't it? That is literally being present. It's taking away everything and having two things, having something that can feel so normal. Oh, I'm going on a hike. Yes, it's long and it's difficult, but I'm just going on a hike. That is my only action. That is my only purpose. But then your mind, your mind doesn't have anywhere to go. Yeah, your mind focuses on the hike. You put one foot in front of the other. Yeah, don't step there. Don't fall off the cliff. Don't, you know, don't do these things. But these are really unconscious things that your mind doesn't really need to expend a lot of energy on. What you kind of end up doing is, having your consciousness be, in a way, somewhat panicked and panicked. Like it's like having a person just going like, there's nothing I can kind of shut off from and just focus on, in a way. I'm thinking about my whole entirety of my life. I'm thinking about all the actions that I've done. I'm thinking about everything that accumulated to get me to where I am today, and evaluating it and looking at, again, it becomes very formulaic. It's just like, oh, you know does this formula work? Is life like mathematics? Is it that, is it kind of straightforward? Are there so many variables that can you control them? You can't control them? Like, what is it? What can I do different? I guess you that internal dialogue is it's kind of the best reflection, I guess, of who you are at that moment. And I think, like, doing that high, I felt most like myself, whether it was something that I liked or not, but I felt like the most authentic version of myself and my consciousness at that moment of time, because there was nothing to hide behind. And it was just me dealing with my thoughts and as they came, and whether that was something I can, you know, celebrate, and dig deep and kind of like be happy about, or whether that was, just struggle. There's that. And then there is a more kind of happy, not, I wouldn't say happy, it's a more kind of sacred space where I'm painting. I think when I'm making art, it's just there is no internal dialogue. It is almost like the destruction of self. There is no self. There is something bigger, and you're just doing it because it's something bigger than you. In a way, it's like meditation. Everyone says like, oh, you should meditate. I come from a family that meditates. My parents sent me to meditation classes when I was a kid, like, and it's that kind of feeling of just not thinking, to have an empty mind and not thinking. And it's just, that I feel like, on that end of the spectrum, yes, that's when I feel most like myself, because there is none of that noise. There is there is now a found understanding of who I am and what I'm doing and my intentions, and in a way a purpose. Yeah, it's a state of clarity. I think that's, yeah, I think that's the moment, isn't it? That's the moment where you understand it. I think, landscapes are so important to me. I only paint landscapes, and all of that is based on my journey within landscapes, and it's just a continuous search for the self, isn't it? You could be Captain Scott and you're going through the Arctic, well, Antarctic, and what are you looking for? You're discovering new things, but the journey at the end of the day becomes inward. You appreciate beauty and terror at the same time. Like you appreciate your I appreciate that my legs and my body have carried me so far. Through mountains, through valleys, all these things, through bad weather, good weather, times where I thought, well, we're in trouble here. But no, like you appreciate that, but you also appreciate the kind of the sense of not having anything attached. It's just it's just you in a point of the world in this landscape. There is nothing that adds to your identity. You can be like, yeah, so all the actions that you've done, the accumulation of all these actions that you've done that make who you are, means nothing. You are as important as the bog, as the heather, as the rock. You're all in an equal standing. I don't think I've ever, felt like that in a long time, because it's quite freeing in a sense, because you're not thinking about all the things that you attach to your identity. You're not thinking about that. You're not thinking about your last job. You're not thinking about any of these things. You're not thinking about your past, and you're not thinking about your future. You are, again, in the present. And that's being in the present in your consciousness, I guess. Your consciousness is a crazy thing to think about. It's such an abstract thing. But I feel like that understanding and hearing your consciousness and realizing, like, there are the thoughts in your head, and then there's the reality in your consciousness. Very, very different concepts, I guess. um I guess when you're able to I guess when you're able to have a moment with your consciousness, and I think that's when you really That's when you're really yourself. You're not having a perspective shape who you are and what you think. Mm. Yeah, I think those are the two places, I guess, in a very different way that I've when I feel most myself. There is on one hand, the very a very perilous place that I can be in, and I'm forced to confront it, and it's grueling. It's grueling like the physical journey, and there is on the other end of the spectrum a place where it's just clarity. Yeah, sometimes I feel like you lose touch with those two things, with those two ways of understanding yourself. Okay, I think I'm gonna I'm gonna stop. This is like a therapy session. My God. These are very well thought questions in a very well thought order, eh? Well done. um, wow. I don't feel like I completely understand. Nothing is point A to point B. Nothing is mapped up. You know, in topography. Um, it you kind of go on a meandering journey, and you're just you know gain elevation, you lose elevation, you take huge detours. Like it's it's a bit crazy to kind of just understand that. I guess what I understand now is what I understand now is basically awareness. I think I wasn't aware of a lot of things before. I think I had a perception of what I thought I understood. I think it's like understanding that what you thought of your of your life and who you are was kind of also a little bit wrong. um it sounds horrible, but I guess it's realizing like, oh, I didn't have the same level of awareness no matter how small. I think I only have a small level of awareness. I'm not, there's still so much that I need to try and figure out and deal with. especially in, the concept of reconciliation and acceptance and kind of letting go a little bit that, not all of the series of actions that I've done, or or the inaction or the thoughts have is is a huge part of me, I guess, because it isn't. I think understanding that, okay, I didn't, I didn't really, deal with things the way that I should have, or the regret of not being able to, be there for people in, really tough times, like my dad's death and my brother's death, and or just not being able to um deal with it at that time, myself. um I think it was the awareness of like realizing like, hey, it's actually okay. Not ideal, but it's okay. I think that's the awareness that I have now. I think I followed such a, again, like a formulaic approach to things, very logical approach to things, and I think it just made me struggle. I think quite a lot. I think the awareness of like, actually, it is quite a difficult time to navigate, and you can't put yourself under so much pressure. um I think that's like, that's something that I understand now, that that I didn't, and I didn't for a very long time, and it is understanding the concept of you know yeah, being able to understand that you weren't able to have, that you didn't have this level of awareness consciously in your consciousness, that, and I think that really kind of helped me. And even if it's just that little bit speaks a lot. You hold on to that little bit, and you go on, and you work towards having that little bit more every day. um I guess as well, that awareness comes with also understanding like you how you react to things, and how you deal with things, and what are these patterns, you know pattern of thought, pattern of action. My dad used to say like, life is 50% awareness, and the other 50% is action. I think he's definitely right. yeah, I guess I'm slowly understanding that a little bit at a time. Okay, blimey, put me through the ringer here, Curtis. Whew. What am I hoping for? What am I hoping for? Guess I can hope for a lot of things that are tangible, boring things like, you know, having work, having, all these things that, tick over every day, paying rent, paying bills, eating. Everyone hopes for that. Everyone hopes for a better life, but I think what, you know, what I struggle with, I think, is hoping that I can move forward, like what is moving forward. Moving forward to me is like being able to understand myself a bit more, understand life a bit more, and understand, I guess, understanding the horrible phrase of being in the present. No, it's not horrible. It's important. I think it's because it's such a simple thing to say. It's very easy to it's very easy to be like, oh, being in the present is focus. I don't think being in the present is focus. I think being in the present is clarity. I guess I'm hoping for clarity, not answers. I think they're two very different things. Clarity and answers are very, very different things. I think clarity, in a way, clarity is freedom in a way, of not letting things affect you anymore, or letting go of being consistently true. And I think clarity is also acceptance of everything, acceptance of, I guess, again, all the sum of all your actions, the sum of all your behaviors, I think acceptance of who you are, basically. Um, yeah, I guess I'm hoping to move forward and to have clarity. It's kind of hard to kind of hope for things that are very intangible. Um, but yeah, I guess that's what I'm hoping for. yeah, and just finding yourself again. All right. Hmm. um, I don't know. I've been quite vague this whole time, but I think I think a lot. Well, I don't know. I can't speak for everyone, but I think it is a little bit. We're living in a huge dumpster fire, I guess. You know, I think it's just important that we all, in a way, have some clarity and have some understanding of, man, we're all just we're all just someone in a landscape, isn't that's basically it, isn't it? We're all we're all hiking this 130-mile hike in our own way, in our own pace, in all sorts of mad landscapes. And I think it's important that, you know, it's important to understand that at the end of the day, if there's nothing, if there's no at the end of the day, you just have to. It's gonna sound so cheesy, but you gotta look out for one another, man. Like, that's the most important. There is nothing else. If you take away everything else, if you take away everything else that you think makes up yourself, there is only one way to live, and that's to lead with love. And love is such a loaded word, isn't it? It's just it's just a category of a series of acts that no one, I think that everyone has kind of lost sight of. It doesn't have to be a huge thing. It can be small when we're so disconnected with everything. I think it's just that little bit is what we need. Like, my dad taught me a few things. Uh, he's one of them was um, Buddhism is like it's like physics. What you put out into the world gives back to you. It's like the first rule of physics, right? Equal and opposite reaction, force. Um, that's the whole that's like the contextualization of this concept of karma, or as I like to call it now in Gen Z, the fuck around and find out theory. Um, no, it is that was the first thing he taught me. Um, Second thing he taught me is that it doesn't matter what religion, philosophy that it doesn't matter what religion that you partake in, believe in. All of these, structured religions are all based on three things: love, compassion, and empathy. And as long as you live by these three things, you're on the right track, you know. And the third thing is always write a handwritten note or letter to someone, because no matter how advanced we are in technology, nothing can ever beat that sincerity of that, of a handwritten letter or a handwritten note. Um, Three very wise, you know, kind of thoughts to live by, I guess. Um, I think, oh, well, hopefully that, that makes a difference in the way that you live day by day. I try and share it with some people that I know, my friends, and I hope that, makes a difference to how you live your life.